Good morning, everybody. How has your week been? And mine has been fantastic. This morning, as usual, my name is Nikki Adekunle, and you're welcome to Relationship Talk with Nikki. Here, you get to learn about your relationship. If what you want to do is to understand why you do the things you do, why your partner does the things he does, you want to understand yourself, understand the behavior of your partner, you are in the right place. If you are interested in building a truly happy and intimate relationship, you're in the right place, because we get to school you on the dynamics that are happening in your relationship and how you can flip it around for the better. And so you're welcome once again. Today we are going to be talking about the normal trending topic, and for me today I want to talk about the types of abuse in relationships, the type of abuse in relationships. And why do I want to talk about the type of abuse in relationship? It is simply because you need to understand the signs to look out for in your own relationship, whether you are beginning to abuse your partner, or you yourself are being abused, or in the lives of your friends and the people around, to be able to identify, is this person being abused, so that you can help the people around you, or by yourself understand that this thing that I'm doing is abuse of my partner, or my partner is abusing me. And how the first step is to identify before we begin to talk about how to escape, how to stop the abuse. So today I want to talk about the different forms of abuse, and the first one that I'm going to talk about is abuse is wide. And the first form is physical abuse, which most of us call domestic violence. It is everywhere. Everybody knows that it means when your partner physically harms you, either by beating you, by whatever, he just physically attacks you, and everybody knows this. And this is the only form of abuse that is captured under the law. So especially in a place like Nigeria, in other climes, people are beginning to understand. The police, they are being trained to understand other forms of abuse. I know that in the West, there is, police have been been trained to identify stalking and all of that. But here, police, they understand the domestic violence, which is physical abuse, and everybody's conversant with that. So if you are being beaten, if you are being punished, some relationships, there's nothing that you will not hear around this climb. Some partners inflict punishments on their partners. They ask them to kneel down, raise up your hand, all those kind of things. You would laugh and think that these things don't happen, but they are there. And so if you are being treated like a child by your partner, being physically somebody attacking you, then you are in a physically abusive relationship. But beyond that, like I said, there are some other forms of abuse that a lot of us are not paying attention to. So the second form of abuse that I'm going to be talking about is the emotional and the psychological. Is the emotional and the psychological. And it happens, it occurs when your partner excessively monitors you, excessively checks in on you, excessively humiliates you and intimidates you. And this, sometimes they can be done very subtly, and sometimes they can be aggressive. Like I used to say, when your partner is being aggressive, you know that something is wrong, but there are times like that it is done subtly. So when people, when somebody messes up with your emotions and your psyche, you are in an abusive relationship. It is called emotional or psychological abuse. And there are times that there are things you need to know. It is your entitlement to know these things, and they purposely keep it away from you. That person is psychologically abusing you. So for instance, you are supposed to be in an exclusive relationship, and something is happening with the person's phone, and you feel like, I think you are texting this person too much or something, and the person makes you feel like you don't have a right to demand. That is psychological and emotional abuse. Some of these things you need to know. Whatever it is that you are supposed to be rightfully informed, and you need to dig and dig and dig before this information is provided. The person is toying with your emotions and your psychology, and you need to know this thing, and it is called psychological abuse. The third one that I want to talk about, for want of time, I would have to rush through these things. We might need to stay and talk about each of them at length later, but for today, I just want to introduce you to several forms of abuse that we have in relationship. The third form of abuse that I want to talk about today is the verbal abuse. And as the name connotes, when somebody diminishes you and your worth, or they threaten you, with their words, that is, verbal abuse. They make you feel little. They diminish your worth, that that you are useless. If not because I'm in your life, I don't even know who trained you. I don't even know why you are this daft. When somebody talks down at you like that regularly, then you are in an abusive relationship, and it is verbal abuse. We all have our weak moments when we misbehave. Any couple that claims that they've never had to exchange words, then they must be our shining examples. In times of weakness, we all say things that we get to regret later. I'm not talking about a one-off thing, but when it consistently happens, that you are constantly being put down, your self-worth is being diminished all the time, then you are most likely in a verbal abusive relationship. And the fourth type of abuse I want to talk about today is sexual abuse. And sexual abuse is when somebody debases your natural sexual urge. We know that we don't all have the same, we don't operate in the same with the same sexual libido. Some people have it more and some people have it less. And maybe you are with your partner, maybe you will have less sexual drive, and they continue to make it an issue, and you are being put down because of that something is wrong with you, you are not normal, and they keep saying these things until it begins to get to you that you are not good enough. What it actually does is that it's breaking down your mental strength, and because of this, you don't last long. It can even be, like I said, abuse is usually a gender neutral thing. It doesn't necessarily have to be a man that abuses the woman, because the general thing that we all believe is that the man abuses the woman, but it's not true. Women also abuse their partners. And so on the strength of your natural sexual drive, somebody puts you down all the time, or probably you have more sexual drive, especially for women that have more sexual drives than their husband, and they make you believe that you must be an ashawo person, you must be a prostitute for having higher sexual drive, and that there's something wrong with you. Normal women don't have that kind of, and because of that, they keep emphasizing it until it begins to get to you, and it continues to and until it affects your confidence. That is another way that sexual abuse. So if you are in this kind of relationship, then you are being sexually abused, or you are also you are encouraged to do something that you're not comfortable with. Somebody wants you to hang one leg on the fan and the other one on the chandelier, and you're like, I'm not comfortable with this kind of arrangement, and because of that, you are being put down because you are encouraged to do something that you don't necessarily, and if you are going to go on an adventure, it has to be agreed, and if you don't agree, nobody should judge you for that. Yes, we should all try to experiment, we should all try to be adventurous, but if I don't want to, I should, on the basis of that, I should not be put down. So if you are being encouraged to do something that you don't want to do, and because of that you are being labeled, then that is an abusive relationship. Then the fifth type of abuse that I want to talk about, like I said, I'm going to rush through all the abuse so that you can see yourself in the picture if you are anyway. The fifth type of abuse that I want to talk about is financial abuse. And financial abuse happens when somebody does something to disrupt your financial independence, or they encourage you to be overly dependent on them. So for instance, this is usually common with men, and men expecting their wives not to work, not because she doesn't want to work, but because you don't want her to work. You feel like you have everything she needs to take care of herself, and for her usually it's not about money, it's just about the experience, it's about going out, it's about meeting people, and you deprive her of doing that. You are encouraging her to just depend on you. How much are they going to pay you? You want to go and work for 30,000, you want to go and work for 40,000, and you keep saying these things until it begins to affect her confidence. She doesn't have the confidence to explore that side of her again. But until she becomes dependent, you will not stop. That is, you are financially abusing that person. And sometimes you also encourage people, you do things that disrupt their financial independence. Maybe this person is working in a place, you go there and cause trouble, and each time they're sacking this person or scolding her or giving her query, all those things that you do that disrupt someone's psychological balance, their mental strength. You weaken their mental strength enough for them not to pursue their financial independence. And like I said, we're going to talk at length about this later, but for now, suffice to know that when you are being encouraged to be overly dependent financially, or when somebody does anything that disrupts your financial independence, then you are in a financially abusive environment. Then the sixth thing I want to talk about is a digital, because we can't miss that in this season, in this digital age, there is also digital abuse. And digital abuse occurs when you encourage total dependence on from someone on their, is either you over monitor them, or you encourage them that everything you want to do on your social space, I have to be there, I have to be present, and you make yourself an integral part of their digital lives. You monitor what they do, you report back to them, I saw this, I saw that. Everybody deserves a level of privacy when it comes to their digital space, when it comes to their social exposure, when it comes to whatever it is that they do with their technology. Everybody, you need to respect people's spaces and respect their boundaries as well. If they want you, I'm not talking about not disclosing. You might ask a question that you have a right to ask a question. I saw this and this and this, and it's okay for us to be plain and truthful. And I'm not talking about people that always lock their phones and are hiding it around. If you don't have anything to fear, then that's not what we're talking about. But I'm talking about excessively monitoring someone. You let them know that my eyes are on you. I see everything that you're doing. You can't be away from my watch, and that's stifles the person. The person is conscious that I'm being watched, and the person is not free to be who they are. I know some women that talk about the kind of pictures that they post. It has to be approved by their spouses. All those little things. Just let people be expressive. The social space is for you to express your individuality. And when it is being monitored or being when you are being dictated to on how you should do that, then I think there's a problem with that. And lastly, the seventh thing I want to talk about is stalking. And stalking is when you follow someone, monitor someone until the person feels unsafe. The idea of stalking is not just that you run into each other. The person follows you long enough for you to know that I think I'm being watched, and the person gets psychologically imbalanced. That is when you stalk. And stalking is also a very bad thing, an abusive thing that happens in a relationship. You follow someone, you call them long enough to let them know that somebody is calling and I don't know who this person is, or if there's a particular slang that you say, or there's a particular post that you post on their page, you just continue to monitor that person until the person knows, the person is aware, and the person begins to feel unsafe because the person does not know where the eye that is monitoring them is from, and so it creates an imbalance in that person. So these are the 7 types of abuse in relationship that I want to talk about today. Like I said, we might have time to discuss them at length later, but for today I just want to introduce us to this. And why am I talking about this? One of the most difficult things for any of us to do is to admit that we are being abused, especially if you are an intelligent person. We all believe that abuse is for the foolish set of people, the idiots of this world. They are the only ones that can be abused. But the truth is, the best of us can be abused, especially if we are not paying attention to the patterns that we are building in our relationship. And so the purpose of creating this video today is for you to sit down and think about it. Am I being abused? How in control of my space am I? What kind of pattern have we created? What kind of dynamic have we been able to create in this relationship? And does it mean, and the dynamic that we have created, is it healthy for both of us? And so please think about it. Are you being abused, or are you abusing your partner? And until I come your way next week, My name is Nikki. Thank you for everyone that has commented. I would read and I'll comment later. Thank you so much for joining me today and not making me feel lonely here. And I appreciate you for always joining. And until I come your way next week, where we get to talk more about something in your relationship that will be beneficial to you. Bye for now.